This is the Assassin stream. This is going to be the Assassin videos. They'll be up on YouTube very shortly after the stream, hopefully. And this is not only how to play Assassins, but also how to play against them. This video is going to focus not only on the beginner aspect of things, how to get introduced into Assassins, but it should also be really useful for the more advanced players. I'm going to be covering things specifically that I didn't know, or things that I think a lot of the League community doesn't know about these champions. We'll be going over every single champion in detail, going over their abilities, all that stuff. We've got information on how they do in pro play, how they do in solo queue. We'll be talking a little bit about their lore for each one of the champions. We'll be talking about their power spikes, what's their common runes and build paths, all of that stuff. We won't go into a lot of like really in-depth like combos or things like that. There are plenty of great players out there who have very detailed combo guides, and I definitely want to point you towards those people because they are far better at those champions than I am. I'm going to focus on things more from an analytical perspective and from a numbers perspective, and also from a details perspective, so you guys can learn the details about these champions that a lot of people don't know. Let's move on to the mobility assassins. So mobility assassins, we got Katarina, Kiana, and Talon. Let's move on to Katarina. So Katarina, she was released in 2009, reworked in 2016. She's had a low presence in pro play for pretty much her entire life, at least from all the stats I could find on pro sites. The stats before season 4 are a little bit sketch, but from season 4 onward, I have some pretty good stats, and she always has a really low presence in pro play. She is S tier in solo queue though. She is really good in solo queue. She's really great as counter pick. So red side counter pick, she's fantastic. She has a decent skill floor and skill ceiling, especially after her rework. She's not too hard to pick up, but she definitely, you can spend 1,000 hours on her easily and still not fully understand her. She snowballs extremely hard, especially in the mid game. You always have to be really, really careful that you don't give Katarina kills, because she will just take over a game. And she's really combo reliant. So if you want to play Katarina, you really need to study her combos. And if you're a mid lane main and you're struggling with Katarina, one of the first things I would recommend is watch some videos on what her combos are, so you know what to expect against her. Because it's all about her combos. It's all about placing her daggers and picking up her daggers in order so she can reset her Shunpo. That's really like the core mechanic on Katarina. So the lore for Katarina is she is the daughter of Noxian nobility. Her father was actually like the head assassin in Noxus. She trained to be an assassin from a young age. She is the sister of Cassiopeia. Her sister Cassiopeia was more like a diplomat, and went after was more in line with her mother. Her mother was a diplomat and like a spy and kind of stuff like that. And Katarina went more in the footsteps of her father, basically, towards being an assassin. So Katarina was extremely talented. She was considered to be like one of the best assassins in Noxus. But her first assignment, her father tasked her to kill some lowly lieutenant in the Demacian army, and she thought it was beneath her. But pretty much, she was like insulted that her father didn't task her to kill like the commander or something like that. So she kind of went against her father's wishes and ended up killing the general of the Demacian forces instead. And she was flawless, in and out. Nobody knew, and the general was dead. And pretty much when she came back to her father, what had happened was the lieutenant that she was supposed to kill was so enraged by the general being killed that he led this like crazy assault against the Noxians and beat the Noxians. So the dude she was supposed to kill was the one who ended up defeating the Noxians. So because of her pride and her arrogance, her father nearly died, and Noxus ended up losing that battle. So her father was like completely pissed off at her and like almost like banished her. And while she was alone, kind of like kicking herself for being too prideful, her father sent an assassin to kill her, to basically like see if she was still worthy to be his daughter. She killed the assassin, but that's how she got the scar on her left eye, was that assassin nearly killed her. So she brought the head of the assassin back to her father, but she still hasn't like fully regained his favor. Additionally, there's kind of hinted that there's a little bit of a power struggle between Katarina and Talon. So Talon was brought up as well by Katarina's father into the assassin guild. So the only person that's ever beaten Talon in like a duel was Katarina's father. So that's why Talon respects Katarina's father and why he is loyal to Katarina's father. So they're kind of vying for who's the successor. It's going to be Katarina or Talon to this assassin guild within Noxus. And now with the rise of Swain to power, she's looking to like prove her worth and prove that she's really kind of the assassin that should take over her father's operations within the assassin guild. And then of course we have to mention that there is the ship between her and Garen. Has not been confirmed, but there are little sprinkles of it throughout, in-game stuff and a little bit of fan fiction and whatnot. So there is the rumor that her and Garen are secret lovers. So as far as in-game is concerned, Katarina is kind of unique. She scales with both AD and AP, but all her abilities deal magic damage. So you can build hybrid items on her, but in general you want to itemize towards magic penetration and AP. She has a decent laning phase. She snowballs so hard. Snowballs. It feels like she snowballs harder than most other assassins. I know that that's probably not true, but if Katarina gets a few kills, the game feels over if in the hands of a competent Katarina player. She has tons of AoE damage, and in general, so assassins typically are really good in catch and split. But what Katarina trades is she trades split pushing power for team fight power. So Katarina is one of the best team fighting assassins in the game. So she's still great in catch comps, but she's also really good in attack compositions because of her AoE damage, because of her ultimate, because of the resets she gets. She's really good in team fighting. So yeah, she can actually 1v5 a team fight if she's far enough ahead. So she is like a hyper carry threat. All right, so Katarina's passive is Ferocity. So this is what makes her really, really powerful as a attack comp assassin. So anytime she gets a kill or an assist, I think the official time is as long as the champion dies within 3 seconds of her damaging it, it reduces her cooldowns by 15 seconds. So all of her basic abilities have less than a 15-second cooldown, if I remember correctly. So it basically will refresh her Q, her W, her E, anytime she gets a kill or an assist, and it will also greatly reduce the cooldown on her ultimate, which has a cooldown of 90 to 45 seconds. So you can take off a significant portion of her ultimate cooldown by getting a kill or assist. Additionally, Katarina's passive is that her Q and her W will drop a dagger. Anytime Katarina picks up one of her daggers, she deals AoE damage and reduces her E cooldown by a significant amount. So it reduces her E cooldown by 78 to 96% based on level. So this is really what all of Katarina's combos revolve around, is that she uses the picking up of her daggers to reset the cooldown on her E, which allows her to place more daggers and jump to those daggers to reset the cooldown on her E. And so that's how you have to chain all of her combos. So it's all reliant upon picking up daggers to reduce the cooldown on her Shunpo. So daggers will last on the ground for 4 seconds. So you don't have to immediately jump to those daggers. You can throw them out there, wait a second or two, try to bait the opponent, and then jump in or decide not to jump in. So Katarina's Q is Bouncing Blade. It's point and click. Hits up to 3 targets total, and it will leave a dagger on the ground behind the target that it hits. It's good for ranged last hitting, and it's also good for some harass. It deals 75 to 195 magic damage with a 30% AP scaling on it. You pair it with E for quick trades. So you basically throw out the Q, wait for the dagger to land, wait for the enemy to step within close to the dagger, then you E onto the target, pick up the dagger, deal the AoE damage, and then you can E back out to a minion, or you can continue the trade in another way. Katarina's W is called Preparation, so it doesn't actually do any damage itself. All it does is that she throws a dagger up into the ground and it will drop. So while the dagger is in the air, she gains Ghost and bonus movement speed. So again, another assassin with Ghost. A lot of these assassins have Ghost abilities, which allow them to avoid unit collision. She gains a bonus movement speed and Ghost for 1.25 seconds. You can combine it with the E for a longer combo. So typically the way that would work is you would E into the champion, auto attack them while you're throwing the W. So you throw a couple auto attacks while the W is in the air. Once the W lands, you pick it up, get the AoE damage, and then you can Shunpo out, or you can use it for additional combos once you get the reset on the Shunpo. You can also set it up for a re-engage. So basically you drop the W while you're retreating, wait for the enemy to get near the dagger, and then you E to them, able to instantly pick up the dagger, and then also set up some more combos off of that. So this is really good for like a counter ganking situation. Like if you're getting ganked, it's Katarina, but your jungler is here, you bait them in, and then you can use that combo. So Shunpo, this is like Katarina's big ability. This is like the ability that gives her a ton of mobility. It is a targeted blink, 725 range to enemies. She gains additional 50 range, so it goes up to 775 range if she blinks to one of the daggers. If she blinks to an enemy, it deals magic damage. So the magic damage is 15 to 75 plus 50% of her AD plus 25% of her AP. So it's a decent chunk of damage. So when possible, you want to be Shunpoing to the target and then picking up the dagger after you Shunpo to them. It'll increase your damage. You always want to be weaving in auto attacks between Shunpos and picking up the daggers and things like that. Like we've already mentioned, the cooldown is reset by picking up the dagger. It is really kind of your bread and butter ability for setting up combos. Every one of these combos always has an E involved. Either you're Qing and then Eing, or you're Eing and then Wing, or you're Wing and then Eing. E is just like, it's all about the resets. You want to get Shunpo resets by picking up the daggers, dropping more daggers, get more Shunpo resets. And that's what gives Katarina so much mobility, and it gives her a lot of damage through her passive with the AoE damage she gets when she picks up the dagger. Additionally, something I didn't know is that the Shunpo will also reset Katarina's auto attack timer. So you can actually use it as an auto attack reset. One thing that a lot of people don't do with Katarina is they don't weave autos in between their abilities. So weaving auto attacks is really important with Katarina to maximize her damage and make sure that you are able to kill the target. Alright, so Katarina's R. This is her ultimate. This is a really iconic ability called Death Lotus. It has a 90 to a 45 second cooldown, and the reason why that is important is because remember her passive, every single time she gets a kill or assist, it reduces the cooldown of all of her abilities by 15 seconds. So when you're late game, even if you have no CDR, if you get 3 kills or assists, you can cast her ultimate again. So this actually allows her to potentially get 2 ultimates off in a team fight once you get into late game. So the way Death Lotus works is it is a 2.5 second channel, so it can be interrupted. So you have to be very careful that you don't use this ability until most of the crowd control is gone. But 2.5 second channel deals AoE damage every 0.166 seconds to up to 3 targets within a 550 range around her. So the magic damage per 0.166 seconds is 25 to 50 plus 22% of her bonus AD plus 19% of her AP. So think about how many daggers that is. If you were able to get a full channel off, it's an absurd amount of damage that she's able to do. Typically, you will not use the full channel on Katarina's ultimate. The whole purpose of Katarina's ultimate is to get a target into kill range with the rest of her combo. So you get multiple targets into kill range. They're going to run like crazy from you because you're stationary when you're channeling your ultimate. As soon as they get out of your ultimate range, then you use your gap closers to finish them off. You'll reset the cooldown of your ultimate and be able to potentially use it again in the team fight. Additionally, common thing that most people don't know about Katarina's ultimate is it does apply grievous wounds. So it reduces healing on any target with grievous wounds by 60%. So that's a pretty huge deal. So it basically prevents enchanters from healing up their allies if they're hit by a Katarina ultimate. The big thing that we already talked about is you can cancel her ultimate early. This allows you to chase down fleeing enemies, so you don't have to stay there for 2.5 seconds. If all the enemies get out of your AoE, then you can stop it and use the rest of your abilities to assassinate them after that. But this is really the ability that makes Katarina a phenomenal team fighter. The big thing with Katarina and her ultimate is you want to wait until those key crowd control abilities have already been used. So baiting out crowd control is very important to being successful with Katarina. So you either want your teammates to bait out that crowd control or you want to bait it out before you go in for that big ultimate play to win the team fight. So yeah, for Katarina, always want to rank up your R whenever you can. And then the skill order is Q, E, W. I've been seeing a lot of Katarinas going Conqueror lately. Electrocute is a little bit less common. It seems like Conqueror is the preferred, at least right now. They typically will run Flash and Ignite as their summoner spells. Hextech Gunblade is always the first item that you get on Katarina. She scales so well off of it because she scales off of both AD and AP, and the active of Hextech Gunblade is phenomenal, and the extra healing that she also gets from it is phenomenal as well. Typically, you would like to go into a Sorcerer Shoes. Sometimes you will have to go into a Defensive Boots, but if you can, you want to go into Sorcerer Shoes as your boots. You generally want to build AP and Magic Penetration on Katarina, even though she does scale off of both AD and AP. All of her abilities deal magic damage, so that AP and that Magic Penetration is really good. I've also been seeing a lot of people picking up Death Stance on Katarina, especially with the Conqueror. So Hextech Gunblade has the passive where she gains healing from her abilities. Death Stance also has a passive, and they do stack. So Katarina is one of the only champions in the game that can really make use of both Hextech Gunblade and Death Stance for all their healing. So if you go Conqueror Katarina, then your secondary would be Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter from the Domination Tree, and it basically gives Katarina a bunch of sustain when you have Hextech Gunblade and Death Stance. A lot of times you'll go Liandry's Torment as well with this build because you're trying to get those longer team fights, and Liandry's, the longer you're in combat, the more damage you deal. But that seems to be a really popular build, especially when you get up into like Master, Grandmaster, Challenger ratings, things like that. So yeah, I would definitely try that out if you want to experiment with Katarina. So the big thing, obviously, when you're playing against Katarina is you don't want to go near the daggers. The daggers is where she gains a lot of her damage with that AoE spin that she does when she picks up the daggers. You want to minimize the amount of times that she can reset her Shunpo, which is all about the dagger pickups. And then obviously you need to save some form of hard crowd control to stop her channel when she goes in for her ultimate. So it's kind of similar to Master Yi. You have to save the hard crowd control for Katarina, or she will absolutely murder you with her ultimate. Yeah, the big thing with Kat is tracking crowd control. Track the crowd control. Don't use your ultimate too soon. And don't be afraid to cancel your ultimate once everybody gets out of the AoE. So you want to be able to continue and chase them. Because as long as you gain kills and assists, the ultimate cooldown will reset, and you'll be able to use it really, really soon afterwards. Kind of like a Lux ultimate. Otherwise, like I think she's legit a 1v5 carry if you play her well. But hard crowd control is like the bane of her existence. Similar to Master Yi. Alright guys, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. If you feel like I missed anything essential on Katarina, please leave a comment below. All I ask is that you be respectful. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. This is Randomonium signing off.